please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Rules of our public hearing are the same as always. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. If at the end of that you have something else to say, we'll cycle back to you after everyone has had a chance to first speak. There is a sign up at the podium. I'll give everyone a few minutes to sign up. And I thought I would share some information with everyone that has been shared with the board that has come out after the budget was set. As I assume you've all had an opportunity to see the budget that came to us from the first selectman had just under a 2% tax increase. I believe it was 1.8. Unfortunately, since we had that in our hearings, we have heard from Hartford and our illustrious governor that they intend to remove $3.4 million from the Board of Education budget in the form of ECS grants. And they're going to turn around and send us a bill for $5.476 million for the teacher pensions on the side of the Board of Ed. So the actions of Governor Malloy have created a $6.54 million hole in our budget. So those of you who would like to address the budget and suggest we add something or restore something, I would ask you to think long and hard about what you might suggest we reduce, given that the numbers we are now faced with will result in a 6% tax increase, assuming we do nothing to change any of that. Having said that, let's see who's on our, if somebody want to grab the list. Is there another sheet there, just in case anyone else wants to sign up? Thank you. Okay. First on our list, I would ask that you identify yourself and your address, please, for our clerk. First is Lainey McHugh.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lainey McHugh, 132 Fresh Meadow Drive. I'm here tonight just concerning a couple items in the budget. I'm not here asking you to restore or move stuff around. But when the first selectman met with PTA council president and my co-president at THS, Trumbull High School, this year concerning, budget items, he did indicate that he was reducing the request to the Board of Education by $288,000 for magnet school tuition, which he feels that Trumbull should not be responsible for paying, and a $70,000 position for a police officer at Trumbull High School, which he felt was not necessary now that the SRO had been assigned to THS. He then took another $300,000 out of the budget when it came forward, and I'm not really sure with the rationale for those. But I'm wondering the impact on the budget should other communities choose the same in regards to magnet school tuition, as we do have the ag science and the performing arts program housed here in Trumbull. So I would ask that there be some lengthy discussion with the Board of Education as to that when you meet with them. More importantly, however, I'm really concerned about the reduction of the amount corresponding to the police officer at THS. I spoke at length with Scott Sakura, who's the head of security. He was not aware that that had been suggested to eliminate that position, and he felt strongly that it serves an entirely different and very necessary role than that of the SRO. This reduction could impact not only the Board of Education budget, but staffing for the police department, as you'll continue to require patrol officers to manage traffic flow both in the morning and afternoon rushes, and also to manage outside parking lot security in order to keep the THS Hillcrest and Ag Science compound or campus safe. It's especially important going forward as the Strobel Road, Daniels Farm Road looks like it has been pushed off as far as budgeting for repaving and a light there as well. Lastly, during your discussions with Park and Rec Director Stuart McCarthy, it was discussed that field maintenance line items should be allocated to the Board of Education, and I'm not sure whether I agree with that or disagree with that. But I just want to make sure that when you're discussing reductions and you look at that, that the bottom line number has been adjusted to reflect that if you do move those line items, so that when you're talking about any reductions, you're talking about it based on, what you're actually reducing from the budget and not those other items that you've moved over. While you're looking at that, if you're going to be combining services from the Board of Education and the town side, and perhaps the salary for the facilities director, you should look to parcel that out in pieces as well if they're going to be combining services. It was also discussed about use of the park's facilities for concessions, and that it might be something that the town would look to take a piece of that as they're using our facilities for things like Pop Warner and Little League at Unity Park. I know that that was a discussion. When you make a discussion about that, though, I just want you to remember that those concessions directly go back to the services that those entities provide. They are 501c3s, but they're not really turning profits from the concession stand. They're using those directly back to services for the children. So that's yet another tax, and it would just be passed on as a fee to the parents as well. So thank you for those considerations when you're talking about the budget.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Paul Lavoie.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Paul Lavoie, and I live at 117 Meadowview Drive. And it's a bit unusual to be on this side of the podium and addressing this board. So first, I'd like to start by just thanking all of you for the time that you put in and the service that you give to our town. Having served as the vice chairman of this board, I understand this time of year the kind of effort that you put in. You give up vacation days and long times to make sure that we have a budget. So I just wanted to say thank you. In addition, I now serve as the finance chair of the Board of Education, and Chairman Hammers is right on spot. It's $6.5 million of reduction that is coming to our town. I will make a point of clarification that the first selectman nor this board has no authority to direct the Board of Education as to what we'll do with the money that you give us. So for the first selectman to say that he's going to reduce $288,000 magnet payment, that's our decision. He can certainly recommend that, and that's a good recommendation on his point. But as it works with the Board of Education, you give us a number, and we've got to figure out what to do with that. What I'm here to address with you today is to tell you that we are in we're in uncharted territory. We are going now into a situation where we have to potentially have to find $6.5 million. And what I want to assure you is that your Board of Education is looking at every possible area that we can reduce expenses that does not impact our students. If it's energy savings, if it's taking a look at services that we provide to our students that are outside of that, we are in the process right now of overturning every single stone, looking for every single nickel and dime. And I would encourage you to do the same. And then I would encourage us to take another step. And that other step is that we have to look at municipal collaboration. We have to look at shared services that we have between our education, Board of Education in our town, look at where there's duplicity and eliminate those expenses. We do not have a revenue problem, we have an expense problem. The Gibson report had several recommendations in that area, and I would ask that this board, I can assure you that I will be asking the Board of Education, this board, the town council, the first selectman's office, all work together to reduce the expenses at the municipal level. In addition to the role that I have here in Trumbull, I'm also the regional chairman of the Legislative Action Committee for the Central Connecticut Chambers of Commerce. We are conducting a municipal collaboration forum in the 7 towns that we represent, bringing all of the leaders of those 7 towns together to demand the same thing from the business community. We must reduce expenses. We must take down walls that exist between the education system and the town. We must find ways to deliver our services more effectively and efficiently. And I'm asking your help. I'm telling you the Board of Ed is up for that. I'd like the Board of Finance, the Town Council, to look at all of that as well. This is the only way that we're going to do this and protect what we've invested in our students and protect what we've invested here in our town. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next is Cindy Katsky.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Katsky. I live at 129 Meadowview Drive. Meadowview Drive is being very well represented tonight. I don't have anything really prepared to say. I was looking a lot at the transfer station fee, and I watched the tape of your discussion the other day, and I appreciate that you are looking into different alternative ways of dealing with this, because I think just putting a tipping fee on the carding services is not the way to go, because it disproportionately impacts only a certain segment of the population, whereas, you know, everybody sends their trash there. So I really think that something needs to be done to make it a fairer system. I will say, I tried to look for the auditor's report on the transfer station fees. And I saw it referred to in your agendas, but I really had a hard time finding that report. And I don't know if there's a specific place on the town website where the auditor's reports are that I didn't know where to look at there.
There's a department for the internal auditor,
Okay,
and if you go into that on the website, click on that link, all the reports are on there.
perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
I wish I should have picked up the phone and called you. But so you know, I'm trying to get a handle on exactly what the issues are. And another problem is when I was watching the tape, I could hear everything the chair was saying, but nothing anybody else was saying. So I really missed, you know, half of the conversation. So that was difficult too. But I really think, you know, I think that you need to find a better way to, I mean, if we're going to recapture those fees, you know, I know nobody wants to add to the tax, to the mill rate, but, you know, you're looking at essentially a tax that you're trying to figure out what to call it and how to spread it. But I think, you know, just putting it on the carding companies is not the way to go about it. And the other thing I just wanted to say very briefly is that, as you said, you know, it was mentioned we're in uncharted waters here, and I think maybe a lot of people didn't show up. I mean, I know it's, you know, your doors are not usually being busted down for this, but it's very hard to get a handle on exactly what's going on because there are so many moving parts. So, you know, I know it's hard for you guys, it's hard for us, but I really hope that you can all work together on both sides of the aisle, hopefully better than at some other times. I think if everyone puts their heads together and works together, we can come up with the best solution for the town. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I have no other names on my list. Would anyone who is in the audience care to speak? Okay. Are there any comments, any board members? I know that we are, as Paul said, in uncharted waters, and we're all doing our best to try to figure it out. Our problem is we have deadlines built into the charter. So one way or the other, and unfortunately sometimes without enough information, we are forced to make a decision. But as I said at the end of our last meeting, I look forward to everyone's input. This is not going to be an easy task. In the 30 years I've been involved in this, it is absolutely the worst I have ever seen, and the hardest year I've ever seen. If no one else has anything to say, I appreciate those of you that did come out, and we are certainly also take emails from people. So if people would like to make public comment other than this, they're welcome to send us an email. And we do have a Saturday public hearing on Saturday morning, March the 11th. I believe it's at 10 a.m. and in the same, are we here or over at Madison? We're over at Madison Middle School. Okay. Hearing no one else wanting to speak, We are adjourned.